Hi, I'm John, this is my daughter Lillian, and we're urban stargazers. So we're just here to talk to you about what's going to be up in the sky over Fort McMurray for the month of March and into April. It's a really great time of year because it is warming up, but we're slowly starting to see a little less nighttime, a lot more daytime. This is sort of your last chance in this year to go and look at the great constellation Orion the Hunter. Just after sunset, when you look south, you're going to see the constellation of Orion. It's unmistakable with his belt.
I know about the belt.
You know about his belt. Those are the three stars that kind of go up and down like this. Above his belt, his top shoulder, which will be the left side if you're looking at him facing south, is the star Betelgeuse. It's one of the major stars in Orion. And Betelgeuse is a really interesting star. It's about to blow up. Scientists and astronomers have been watching the luminosity of the red giant Betelgeuse change over the last year or two. Since December, Betelgeuse has been getting dimmer. But just around February, it turned around and started getting brighter. And that signals to astronomers that Betelgeuse is about to go supernova. And when it does, it's going to be incredible. It's going to be the third brightest object in the sky next to the sun and the moon. It's going to happen pretty soon, but in astronomical terms, pretty soon could be tomorrow, or it could be 100,000 years from now. But it's worth taking a look at just to know what's going on there. Now, below Betelgeuse and Bellatrix, which is the companion star on the other side of Orion, is Orion's belt. Just below Orion's belt is a group of stars that run almost straight up and down in the south. If you hold your hand out, they're about 2 fingers away. Within those stars is a fuzzy patch of sky, and that's the Orion Nebula. It's one of the only nebulas you can see with your naked eye. It's the birthplace of stars. So while Betelgeuse is at the end of its life, new stars are being born every day in the Orion Nebula. And the light from the Orion Nebula has been traveling a long time, about 1,300 years. When the light left Orion's Nebula, Constantinople was under siege. Muhammad was writing the Quran. And the light you're seeing is from a time long ago. All right, Lillian, what's another constellation?
The Big Dipper.
The Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is called Ursa Major. It's the Big Bear. It's a circumpolar constellation. That means it's always up in the night sky. It just rotates around the celestial pole all year long. Everybody knows the bowl of the Big Dipper, and you see the 3 stars in the handle of the Big Dipper, but one of those stars in the handle is a really, really cool star. It's called Mizar, and it's the middle star in the handle. Now, in ancient times, the Arabs used to say that if you had really, really keen vision, if you had eagle eyesight, when you look up at that star in the middle of the Big Dipper's handle, you actually see 2 stars, but only for the people with the keenest eyesight. When Galileo trained his telescope on it, he found not only were there 2 stars, Mizar and Alcor, but that Mizar itself was 2 stars. So now you had a 3-star system, all rotating around each other. You have Mizar, which was 2 stars orbiting around each other, that would orbit around Alcor, the other star. Well, as telescopes improved, they actually found out that Mizar is not just 2 stars, it's 4. There's 2 groups of 2 stars orbiting around each other like this. And they're orbiting with Alcor in that same little area of the sky. And then in 2009, scientists in Arizona had a look at the companion star Alcor, and they found out it is 2 stars also. There's a white dwarf there. So that center star you see in the handle of the Big Dipper is actually 2 stars, Mizar and Alcor. And Mizar is actually 4 stars, and Alcor is actually 2. So when you look at that one star, you're seeing a whole group of stars, 6 of them, orbiting around each other in the most amazing way possible. It's really, really cool. I bet you if you ask your kids to go look at that center star, they're going to see 2. And I bet you us old people, we're only going to see 1. What's your favorite constellation, Lillian?
I forget what we call it.
Monocerous.
Monocerous.
Rhymes with rhinoceros. It's a really neat constellation. Very hard to see, but it's a unicorn. And my daughter, Lillian, loves unicorns.
That's the one I want to see today.
That's the constellation you want to see today. One of the questions I get asked the most on the Fort McMurray Astronomy Enthusiast Facebook page is, what is that bright object in the south or the southwest? Is it a drone? Is it an airplane? Is it a helicopter? Well, right now, and through to the end of May, the bright object in the south and southwest, just after sunset, is the planet Venus. Venus is the second planet off of the sun, and it is incredibly bright. The three brightest objects in the sky are the sun, the moon, and Venus. And Venus joins us just after sunset there in the south-southwest. Venus is an inner planet, so it's really interesting to look at because it actually goes through phases similar to our moon. Right now we're sitting here at the end of March, and Venus is sort of a half moon shape. If you were to pull out a pair of binoculars and look at that very, very bright object, you would actually see that it almost looks like an oval. If you look at it through a telescope, it's so bright you actually have to put a bit of a shade on the telescope. And from there you would see that Venus is in fact almost like a half moon right now. As we get towards May, it's actually going to go into a crescent shape. And then at the start of June, it's going to dip below the horizon, and we won't see it again for several months. But fear not. For those of you that are working shift at site, first thing in the morning, just before dawn, over in the north, you're going to see two bright objects just peek above the horizon. Those objects are two planets, the gas giants, Jupiter and Saturn. They're going to rise right now just before dawn, and every day going forward, right through to the summer, they're going to start rising earlier, earlier, earlier. From, 4:30 a.m. to 3 o'clock to August, when they're actually going to be part of our evening sky. So you can enjoy watching those planets trek their way across the sky from north to south a little bit more each and every morning. The gas giants are really cool, even with a pair of basic binoculars, the kind you use for bird watching. When you focus those on Saturn, you're going to see that it is clearly a circle with an elongation to it. It'll look almost like an oval. With a good pair of binoculars, you're going to see the rings. With a good telescope, you're going to see clearly a planet surrounded by these beautiful rings. Jupiter will look like a big, bright dot. And if you have a telescope and you use a filter, that bright dot will clearly have a dot in the middle of it, the red spotted Jupiter. Two really cool planets that we're going to start watching now and watch them for the rest of the summer. When you look at the night sky in Fort McMurray, there's a lot of stars. In fact, we've got one of the best cities that I've ever lived in for looking at the stars. There's very little light pollution. But it's kind of nice to know your way around the night sky, so I'm going to give you a couple of tricks and tips that'll help you orient yourself and maybe impress your friends. We all know the Big Dipper, and we know the Big Dipper has an ice bowl. We also know that there is a North Star, but not many people know where it is. So the trick I like to use is if you look at the bowl of the Big Dipper, the two stars on the outside of the bowl form a line. And if you were to draw an arrow from that line all the way across the sky, the first bright star it hits is Polaris. That's the North Star. Polaris is almost at the polar north, and all the sky will seem to rotate around it. Polaris is also the end of the tail of the Little Dipper. So if you find Polaris, you can easily find the Little Dipper. The other trick I use, going back to the Big Dipper, is to find the star Arcturus in the constellation of Bootes, the herdsman. Arcturus is really easy to remember and really easy to find. You take the Big Dipper's handle and it forms a little bit of an arc. And you follow that arc all the way down the horizon to another bright star. And that arc takes you to Arcturus. Arcturus is another really, really bright star in the sky. It's part of Bootes the hunter. And Arcturus is a red giant. It's 700 times bigger than our sun. Another cool star that you can use to kind of impress your friends. I'm Jon.
I'm Lillian.
And keep looking up.